This week, Canada will face new vaccine shortages. The shipment of the Moderna vaccine will be only 78% of what Canada expected. The Pfizer allocations are also severely curtailed due to the retooling of the plant in Belgium. That's where Canada gets these precious medicines. This is all layered on top of confusion from Pfizer on dosage use. Canada uses 5 doses per vial. Pfizer says, no, you should use 6 doses per vial. Now, that would require new and smaller syringes. Canada has ordered 40 million of them. They haven't arrived yet. Will all these delays mean Canada will not hit its vaccine targets? The government insists no, that the doses will all arrive on time, but how sure can the provinces be on that? And will the export controls from the EU pose further dangers to Canada's supply? We asked the Procurement Minister, Anita Anand, to join us. We also asked the Health Minister to join us to get some answers for you. Both said they were unavailable. So to get some more answers and some reaction to that and the travel restrictions announced by the government, we're joined by the Leader of the Official Opposition, Conservative Leader Erin O'Toole. Mr. O'Toole, good morning. Great to have you on the program. Let's start with vaccines if we can. The Liberals insist that the vaccine targets will be met despite all those concerns that I listed. What are your concerns?
I don't see how they can make the targets they've been talking about for weeks when each week the vaccine number keeps diminishing. We have to, according to their target of September, vaccinate 30 million Canadians, over 18. To do that, we'd need to be doing 2 million or so per week. The provinces are ready. This week, we're receiving 0. There seems to be a confusion around the government, and they won't release the contracts. So we don't know if they had options or best efforts or the companies pledged certain numbers but didn't have to hold to them.
It's true. Canada has posted no contracts. Other countries like the U.S. have posted some. I should tell people these are not the full contracts. They have details, but they're not everything. But the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna and even the president of the EU all called Canada to say, don't worry, Prime Minister Trudeau, you will get your doses by March. Now, they'll be backloaded. Does that reassure you when the CEOs are saying we're going to meet our deadlines? Don't worry about it.
I know the companies, I know everyone's trying to do their best here, Evan, but we lost months when the Trudeau government partnered with China. We didn't have the regulatory approval process in place for the mRNA vaccine, and we didn't try and make one of the vaccines here in Canada. That really is holding us up. You mentioned the syringes. They didn't even order those until sometime in November, despite the fact that they knew it was required for this type of vaccine. So they're always several steps behind. There's no leadership from the Prime Minister on this crisis.
Look, the Liberals are going to push back and say, Mr. O'Toole said that we were slow in the approvals. We were the second country to get the approval and get the Pfizer vaccine. We made sure that, yes, the CanSino thing was a total bust, but we followed advice and we got 7 other companies to deliver us vaccines. What do you say to that when, look, as I've asked them, they've got big volume, but obviously they didn't order special delivery on them, but they did get out the door early. Is it their fault that there's a global shortage and these companies just are not able to produce the vaccines and provide the full allotments?
That's the lesson they should have learned from the first wave of the pandemic, Evan. Last March, April, when we saw countries hoarding PPE, medical supplies, planes not leaving tarmacs, did they think it was going to be better with the vaccine? That's why we should have built a capacity here. We have a facility, an NRC facility in the Montreal area that could have done that. Why wasn't that the priority? And we were months late in terms of getting the process in place for an mRNA vaccine. And here's the kicker. Why aren't they releasing the contracts? Because we don't know what they say.
I appreciate you. I want to see the contracts too, and I know and you're a lawyer, so you appreciate they're not going to release everything, but they could release a lot more. What would that tell you? Would that just give you the assurance that if there is a production shortage at the Belgian plant, they are still obligated to hit the March deadline? Now, they've promised that. We haven't seen it in writing. They all say that's going to happen. Why would that be so reassuring for you?
Because then we can plan. They have a general, Major General Fortin, an outstanding leader. You can see he doesn't even have the numbers on a daily basis. And why is there this opaque secrecy around it? Let people know, okay, I'm in this demographic group. I likely will get vaccinated in late February or March. When will we get our seniors, our long-term care homes completely done from coast to coast?
The EU president, the EU is putting export controls on. They're concerned about their supply, but Prime Minister said, I was reassured in talking to the EU President that those won't apply to Canada. Do you buy that?
I read the readout of his call with Ms. van der Leyen. I did not see that clear assurance. And if we learned anything from the first wave of the pandemic, Evan, is even at that point, our closest friend and ally, the US, was trying to hold back some supply of PPE. So I would like to see a clearer statement that a country like Canada will not have our exports controlled at one of the borders in the EU.
No travel to the Caribbean, no travel to Mexico. There's new travel restrictions. Other travelers will be forced to quarantine in a government hotel for 3 days. They got to get tested. It's at their own expense, up to $2,000. Is this too little, too late, or is this too tough on the airline industries? Where do you land on this?
Well, I'd like to see the use of rapid tests here, Evan. You know, since last fall, we've been talking about that tool that allows really quick results that allow us to make quarantine times shorter in some cases, 5 to 7 days, or what some other countries are looking at using rapid tests. If the government had rolled out this national approach as we had been pushing for last fall, we could have maybe lowered that.
Last question, though. The report on the Governor General, toxic, harassing, the allegations are pretty shocking. It led to her resignation. Justin Trudeau bypassed the independent committee to select her. She was his specific choice. You want the opposition to be involved in choosing the next Governor General. Why not take the politics out and go back to an arm's length committee so none of you elected politicians have a say?
Great idea, Evan. In fact, we proposed this in the House of Commons this week. We sent details on our motion to all parties 2 days ahead of our vote, and the Liberals voted down returning to that independent committee that gave us David Johnson, gave us Elizabeth Dodswell, tremendous vice-regal appointments. Why sully the next appointment after what's happened with the last one in a minority parliament where the Prime Minister is every day posturing that he might walk to the Governor General? I think he's in a conflict of interest personally. He owns the mistake last time, the no verification. He clearly had a meeting with her where he asked her to resign. He hasn't told us the full story there as well. I think he owes it to that important institution to have it done independently, because it's important to our Constitution, to our parliamentary democracy, to our military.
Oh, that's interesting. So you say it's a conflict of interest because it's a minority parliament. We could have an election over the next budget. So you think if it's not independently selected, the perception could be he's got his thumb on the scale?
Well, we've read for weeks now, Evan, and you've talked about the rumors of an election. Mr. Trudeau told the Liberal Party they're preparing, they're posturing. I think it's inappropriate when there's curfews and lockdowns, but he's pushing towards that, and he will likely have to go to the Governor General. Should he be picking someone just a few days or weeks before that, after what happened with his last appointment? So get this right. You know, this should not be politicized by Mr. Trudeau and his PMO to help him out, and it's unfair to the next person that's chosen.
All right, I got to leave it there. Mr. O'Toole, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Evan.